Welcome to selfdiscoveryradio.com, where the orchard of wisdom is just ready for picking. We celebrate your why, the journey that you've taken that inspires someone else. We support your services, we support your story. Come and be our guest, become a host, be an author with us. Come and see what we've got. Our next show is... Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of Building Your Business. I'm your host, Sara Troy, and my guest today is Shane Ram. Well, what is business today? We know that business has changed its demographic, it's changed its approach, it's changed its consciousness. If it hasn't changed, it is in the process of changing. And we all want to strive for that success. We all want to have an ultimate goal. We want to achieve. Go for the 10. As Shane says, don't settle for the 7. Just push a little bit further and go for the 10. But he helps people find their unique abilities and highest calling, turning it into a profitable business, a career, while also living an amazing personal life. He has a deep impact in creating people's lives and the number of people you impact. You see, what we are is what we resonate, and it's what other people receive from us. And if we are resonating on a really good positive vibe, believing in what we're doing, we've got everything there together, but we're coming from a place of authenticity, we're coming from a place of a higher consciousness of where we really wish to serve our client, not for the bottom dollar, people, planet, profit, rather than profit at the expense of people and planet. When we've got that consciousness there and then that integrity there, there is no limitations. There aren't any boundaries. But today we're going to be talking about the 8, 9, and 10 steps that you need to do to reach that 10, so as not to settle just for the 7. And let's dive right into Shane's why, where this all came from, his passion for it, what he can do for you, and the consciousness that he resonates in, and share all these wonderful skills that's got him to where he is today. Hello, Shane.
Hi, Sarah. How are you doing?
This is take 2, folks. You know, beautiful internet. It always has that time when, you know, you're battling with it. But we are here now. That means the message needs to be got across, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
So share with us a little bit about your passion for what you do and what brought you to this this beautiful gift that you have that you're sharing with us, others now.
I think ultimately, Sarah, it's about that sense of happiness and fulfillment. And earlier you spoke about people reaching for that success. But what I found was that people were having success, but they weren't necessarily fulfilled.
Yes.
Okay. And I believe there's a popular statement out there that says success without fulfillment is the ultimate failure. So what we found is that, you know, people, whether it's in their career or their businesses, that they were having still some level of success, but they weren't necessarily fulfilled. So Go for 10 is really ultimately about that fulfillment. And that, of course, was, as a lot of these things start, Sarah, through your own personal journey.
Yes.
Okay, so in 8, 9, and 10, typically in my system, I like to keep it simple. So there tend to be 3 ideas or 3 steps along the way. So where I would have started was really in what I call survival, because at the age of 5, I almost died from starvation. Didn't have electricity or running water until I was 11. So wow. Basically, I was striving for success, so moving out of survival into success. And then you get there and you were like, what next? What's next? And then the next is significance. So it's survival, success, significance. And part of that significance led me to understand that fulfillment really comes from being significant in other people's lives. So I was, let's say, at 7. Okay, so I was having a conversation with my wife, and she was asking me, what do you think that separates me from maybe my peers, and just success is relative. Okay, so what I said was I started maybe 0 or 1. That scale of 1, I remember going to university here in the Caribbean. And every Sunday, my mom would pack me with this big brown duffel bag, half with food and the other half with clothes for the week. And I said to my wife, because of that and all of the sacrifices, even with that, that meant a sacrifice for my parents to even be able to do that. So I said, I just couldn't fail. Then my wife said, Shane, that might be true, but there might be other people who were in that situation. There may be something else. And I thought about it, and that's when the whole idea came off. I said, because I came from 0, 1, somewhere low down there, that I could actually settle for 7. And but I don't. I go for 10, and that's where the concept came. And what was happening at that point in my life, I was having good relative success in my career and in my business, because I was doing one and then the other and then both at a point in time. But I got to a C-suite executive at the age of 30 in human resource management. So I've always been in the people development sphere, if you want to put it that way. And, the okay house, nice car, able to go on nice vacations. And that's what I call the 7 life.
Yes.
You have a good job, a good business.
It's okay. Yes.
It's okay. Yeah. So, but then I had one of these mirror talks, as I often do with myself, and said, you're proud, you should be proud of yourself. But then, when you start to look around, and that's what happened to me. I said, well, what is my 2 master's degrees worth, right? So I have 2 master's degrees, one in e-business and one in strategic thinking. And, all of that good stuff. What is that really worth if you're not able to impact people's lives deeply? So as a C-suite executive, you might do that. So you might implement a policy or an idea or a strategy that might bring success. But is it really deep rooted? Is it transformational? You might do a motivational talk and, everyone, claps and they're happy and they really enjoyed it. But, when they leave, does something change?
Yes. Was it just a sugar high? Yeah.
Exactly. So I thought about that and I said, well, what is the depth of impact, Shane, that you want to create, and how many people that you can impact? And while I worked relatively...
A wobbly here. We had a wobbly. So please continue. We will deal with it later. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. So worked in organizations with as much as 5,000 people. But again, I believe that I had the ability to impact a whole lot more people than that 5,000. So it was really the depth of impact and the quantity of impact that you have, the quantum of people you have to put business about it.
Sorry, folks, we're definitely having a challenge here today.
Okay.
Yeah, we're having a challenge with our 8s at the present moment to trying to get this success across, but we are going to do it. Please just continue. Bear with us, folks. We want to know this. So the 8 came about.
Hopefully it works this time.
Yes. So the 8 is pushing through further. Let's just stay at the 7 for a moment before we go into that, because, it's okay for people at a certain stage in their life. They've reached, the happy goal. They're doing well. They're earning enough. They've got the picket fence, the 2.2 kids and all of that. And, there's a certain time period, of course, when your life is so immersed in the family, young children and this and that, and maybe that's not the time to kind of push further. But then you get to a point and you go, hang on, the master's degrees, I've had this achievement. Let's not get complacent. There is more in me to give. There is more for me to have an impact on. And that you have to, even if it maybe is not the right time, if you're at that time of raising kids or whatever, but, look at, when am I going to step into that 8? What is that 8? And why am I stepping into that 8? And of course, for you, it's like, I want a bigger impact. I want to take this knowledge and not limit it to the few. And you want to
Yes.
be able to maximize it so that it reaches more people. And when that kind of 8 comes to you and like, I'm now ready, I see it, right? Then you know it's time to get into gear. So let's discuss the 8 and how you kind of
Mhm.
recognize it and what you can do
Okay.
with it.
Okay. Great question and great ideas there, Sarah. And I want to touch on it if I may, when you
Mm-hmm.
talk about, raising a family, and
Mm-hmm.
that's the situation we are in right now. But I think also it has to do with your value system. And one of the
Yes.
important things that I learned was about, children see. They learn from what they see.
Yes.
So while we think that we want to maybe slow down, we actually need to speed up and to set that right example for our kids. And what I do in particular, before we get to 8, and I help business people with, is to really structure their business in a particular way that actually gives them the time freedom to
Right.
still spend
Yes.
with their kids, but
Yeah.
understanding that
It's
you
working
know
smarter, not working longer.
exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that kids are so impressionable. So regardless of what we say to them,
Mm-hmm.
they will duplicate what they see. So I think it's
Yes.
super important that, however we want to instill values in them, that we display what we want them to see
Yeah.
and ultimately display. So that's super important, I think, to understand.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing to Sarah, is that, as I said, ultimately we want happiness and fulfillment.
Mm-hmm.
And that really comes from growth and understanding that we are nature. And if you were to cut a branch from a tree, what is going to happen is that it's going to grow again. It's going to grow again. And that's what sometimes people feel inside of them, that
Mm-hmm.
they can't necessarily articulate it as that I'm looking for fulfillment, I'm looking for growth, but they just might have that success, but they might feel that something is missing.
Yeah.
Okay. And what that is, I believe, as I said, ultimately we will get to 10, which is really my biggest why. But 8 is really impact, the
Mm.
depth of impact that you want to create in the world, and how many people that you are going to impact. And we're talking about business here, right? But if you
Yes.
think about it,
Oh, life
is
is
that
business itself, right?
yes.
Yeah.
So the concept here is that if you don't necessarily focus on the profits, but you focus on the quantity of impact, the
Mm.
quality of impact, your business is going to be successful. All
Yes.
other things being equal, your business is going to be
Yes.
successful because you are, gung-ho about creating a deep, meaningful impact, and you want to impact a lot of people. And basically, the monetary value that you get in return is a function of the quality of the value, and as well as the quantum of people that you
Yeah.
serve. So the
Let's, you know,
business
let's just
results are going to come.
Right, and that's the point. And I think is if you're doing it for profit, you're again on the wrong track, because then you'll take shortcuts. You'll do it at the expense of people. There isn't the integrity. There isn't the empowerment in there, or the
Yes,
enrichment in there. When
exactly.
the abundance is in the sharing of your knowledge, impacting, empowering other people to be
Yeah,
all that they can be, and then the profitability will come from that. But it's very, very important, isn't it, that you need to look into that mindset. That is the consciousness of business. We've seen the other way around. And of course,
yes.
we see it a great deal in a certain aspect in America right now, where it is most certainly profit over people and planet. But when you invest in other people, support other people, empower other people, give them the ability to grow that branch again, to believe that they can have many branches because their trunk and their roots are sturdy enough to hold them, that empowerment will always manifest monetary, but even more so abundantly within your whole psyche, spirit, soul, and everything else.
Absolutely. And if we could jump on to the 9,
Yeah, yeah.
yes. So it's really, I believe, an extension of the 8. And 9 is really legacy from the point of view, again, so that your impact lives on long after you're
Yes.
gone.
Mm,
Okay, long after you're gone. So what is the brand, product, or idea
mm,
or
mm.
purpose that you can create and put the strategies and structure around it so that it survives your life on this earth? And really, very importantly, at the same time, taking care of that family that we just spoke about,
Right.
how to create generational wealth by creating a business that is based on legacy, that it goes on long after you, and that takes it to another level. It's one, impact is while you're alive. Legacy is long after you're gone. How are you going to continue to create that impact? And that's why I help business people to create the structure and strategies to ensure that that idea, your idea, brand, product, service, purpose, whatever it is, lives on long after that you're gone. And very, very importantly, at the same time, create generational wealth for that same family
Yes.
that you want to do so much for. So
Right.
I hope you're getting where we could actually have it all.
Yes.
We,
Well, yeah, we can. And why do we work so hard? I mean, you see, Mr. and Mrs. Blogs on the corner store work all their lives, right? And then it's like, maybe the kids don't want to take that over. You've given them an opportunity to go to college and they're going to go and do something else. But that doesn't mean that that legacy can't still be there. You may find somebody else where running that corner store is their opportunity, is their platform, right? And there's always negotiation to have the family still be a part of it. Don't limit yourself to just yourself or just blood family, because I have a friend that builds businesses with him in it to make himself obsolete.
Yes.
Right. And that's the thing. You've got to look at you becoming obsolete at some place where the business is still thriving and still providing.
Absolutely. And that's true, Sara, where you can really and truly take yourself out of it. It's another method to really see the bigger picture and really focus on other people. Because if you focus on that service, if you focus on that impact, then you might realize some of your own limitations, and you might need to get yourself out of the way to really have the impact that you want to create. So it's not about you and in particular. And when you do that, that actually begins the process of taking you to the next level, which is level 10. Okay. So what if...
Hang on, got another wobbly there. We got another wobbly there. Let's just let it wobble away because we don't want to lose this 10. The internet is going shocked. What's this 10? The internet is wobbling. Okay. Okay. I think we're okay.
Okay, we can go for 10 again.
Yeah, I think we can go for 10. I think the internet is ready. Okay.
Absolutely. And 10 is really what I call operating from my higher level of consciousness and your higher level of consciousness. Okay. So if again you want to take the three levels, at some level, when you down in that survival mode, you think that life happens to you. Okay. And then you fight your way out of it and you create success, and you start to say, I created this success. So you move to the I level, and then so life happens because of me. And then when you get to the 10, I see it as life is happening through you. When you tap into that higher purpose, higher consciousness, and you allow that purpose, you now become the vehicle to allow a higher consciousness to flow through you to serve the world. Okay. Channeler. So when you talk about my why, I think that the biggest thing for me, Sara, is that at the end of my time here on this earth, when I meet my maker, so to speak, that I should be able to answer yes to the question, and emphatically yes, that did you do what I sent you to do? Right. Yes. Did you fulfill your purpose? And I want to be able to say yes. So that's my biggest why. And I tap into that in intuition and, really feel that and really execute. And sometimes, when I do programs, I get off the stage and I just don't know what I said.
I know. Okay, I do the same thing. Because at that time you're opening up to that beautiful divine universal energy, and you're just channeling. Your intellect already knows what it needs to say, but you're speaking through the soul and the heart and the conviction. And it's the energy that you're saying it in that very often is received more than even the words at that point.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's why people need to go back and listen again, because they got caught up in that beautiful wave.
Absolutely. And I love you brought the idea of intellect into the conversation, because in again my three levels of thinking of things. So I have instinct, intellect, and intuition. And what I do with business people, if you think about it, you know, Einstein, I believe, is the one who said that you can't solve a problem at the same level of thinking that created it. So a lot of business people are trying to utilize their intellect to solve problems.
Yes.
And I was like, suppose that you're able to tap into your intuition, where, you know, what if you're never wrong in the solutions that you come up with? You know, how are you going to succeed? It's that your success is going to be crazy if you're almost never wrong, if you know what I mean. But
you're stepping out ahead. You're stepping out ahead, and you're trusting the heart, soul, and spirit's own intellect, and that has a truth that is so much more purer in thought and in process than our head, because our head will always go, yes, but, right? Yes. The heart, soul, and spirit doesn't. It just is. This is the clarity of it. So stepping out of the head intellectual knowledge and going into the heart, soul, and spirit's intellect, intuitional intellect, we actually then can actually understand what the problem is, and that all it's doing is just presenting a solution to us that we haven't seen from the noggin.
Exactly. And I just want to throw a little caution there, Sara, because sometimes people misinterpret when we say that, from the point of view that you still need to develop your intellect, because when the intuition gives you a nudge or a nugget, you have to process it and execute it at the intellectual level still to bring it to fruition. So the intellect still needs to be able to interpret what the intuition is saying to it, to execute it in this world. So I just wanted to be clear about that. You know,
it's not sit back and just trust the intuition. There are certain things you can do that for, but not, you know, the kind of running a business. You need to have an understanding of what it's telling you and how to implement it. So basically what we're saying is, don't implement it just from the head. Trust the intellect of the intuition, so you can understand the intellect knowledge, which knowledge to use in this head. Because this basically is a database, right? There's got so much information in there, and we could be on information overload. Yes, but what if, but what if, but what if? And if you listen to that intuition and that gut and goes, well, it just simply is, and you look at it, and then the intellect goes, oh, that's the solution. You know, it's taking that deep breath, isn't it? I've lost you again.
Absolutely. And yeah, just I think, you know, it's so powerful, Sara, if we understand that even the awareness that we have intuition, it starts to work, you know, just the awareness, and it's so powerful. And that's what I found with my clients, just introducing them to their intuition, it just begins to work over time. And we need to understand that it's all there, guys. You know, it's we feel that we have to create ourselves and to find ourselves, but the fact is that, you know, God created a really marvelous being, and what happened over time is that I call it that, you know, we sort of got messed up in the sense, Sara,
wrong branches.
and how if your viewers could imagine this, it's like, you know, if you have a clear glass with clean water, and that's kind of like you when you're born. You know, ultimate potential, you're capable. And if you've ever held a child in your hands, especially your own, you're wondering, you know, what are you going to do? What are you going to be? You know, it's just endless possibilities. And that was all of us, you know. And then over time, we have maybe emotional trauma, or studies have shown that we have been told no, can't, don't. You know,
way too much.
40,000 times by the time that we're 5. We're told yes, you know, 4,000 times. So if you can imagine that I had a little cup of coffee and throwing that coffee into that clear glass of water, it starts to get and that's what I say, a little bit messed up. But so a lot of us, because we want to do better, we may buy that book, we may go to a program, but that's, you know, again, if you imagine that I have a jug here and I throw in some water, that's the course. Throw in another little bit, that's the book. it doesn't necessarily bring back that clarity. But if you were to empty that entire jug in there, you will see it comes back to clarity.
Yeah.
And that's why when I work with my clients, I work in an immersive process. And that process is really what is required. You need to immerse yourself over a consistent period of time to bring about that change. And that's really what I found works with a lot of my clients. And I mean, yes, the books are powerful, the podcasts are powerful, the programs are powerful, but I have really found that the deepest and most profound impact comes from when you really immerse yourself in a process to, clean up the mess.
Well, but everything else that, you do the podcast and everything, they're knowledge. But until you learn how to apply that knowledge to you, and the thing is, you can't receive something, of clarity if you're in the fog. You're talking almost like the Momoto water experiment, which I had a Yashiaki on here, who was Momoto's assistant when he died. He continued his work. And there's the three glasses, the room of apathy, nobody speaks to the water just stays the same. The room of hate and anger, where the water turns completely black and serves absolutely nothing. It's very detrimental. And then the room where the water was given love and positive affirmations and literally crystallized into a higher frequency. Bear in mind, we are 70% water. Our brain is 90% water. And if we're constantly addressing the problem or the anxiety or the worries, we're going to change that water to black. If we start looking at it and believing that I will find a solution, I'm open to that, I believe in what I'm doing, I just need to understand how to do it, you change your water over. So you kind of pouring the positive to clear away the negative is the only way that you can do it, because that positivity is so much stronger. But you need 8 positives to counteract 1 negative. So it means that you have to be consistent, and it's not a quick fix, not a downloadable app. It is something you've got to be willing to work at, right?
Yes.
And that's the thing. We got into this mess slowly. We're not going to get out of it fast, but we'll get out of it faster if we allow ourselves to be consistent and persistent and choose to be positive in our approach to it.
Absolutely, Sarah, and that works. And just want to throw an alternative concept to you and your viewers. And yes, you're absolutely right. It takes 8 positives to negate a negative. And what I've found too, Sarah, is that sometimes people just can't get over themselves to be positive about something. Yes. And many times we might be motivated to avoid the pain as opposed to the glory of the pleasure. So one of the processes I take my clients through is really to understand that some of the behaviors, so a lot of us try to change the behaviors. Yeah, positive thinking is one thing, but we also try to change the behaviors. So for example, in early January, the gym is going to be full again with a lot of people trying to get healthy. And it wanes over time. So a lot of people are trying to bring change at the level of activity and behavior. But what I've found is that that's not necessarily sustainable for a lot of people. So I call it peeling back the onion, so to speak. And what we have found is that all our behaviors really come from the stories that we tell ourselves. Yeah. Okay, so that's going down one layer, the stories that we tell ourselves. And then those stories are really emanating from the emotions that we have. Emotions drive behavior as well. And a lot of us are operating from the emotion of fear. And those emotions come from an underlying belief or thought process that would have come from what we call an original sensitizing event. And that process of peeling back the onion and repurposing that original sensitizing event, because you can never change it. It's something that actually happened, but now you're building it back consciously, because what happened is that, as you said, that messiness happens slowly over time. Yeah. And it also happens subconsciously. Yes. Okay? Us being unaware that it was happening. Yeah. So that's I have found to be an extremely important and effective process in really getting back to that root cause, so to speak, of what's causing those limiting behaviors. So that's it could be an alternative, or it could complement, really immersing yourself in positive environment and positive thinking.
Yeah, you have to be willing to let go. You know,
Yes.
in business, you're always going to have somebody who's done you wrong. You know,
Yes.
somebody who screwed you over, you know, a decision you made that wasn't right and it's caused consequences. They're all lessons. And, you know, if we beat ourselves up, why did I do that? Why did
Yeah.
I align with that person? Why did I make that decision? When you made it with the knowledge you had in the moment, right?
Yes.
When
Yes.
maybe with your head, without your gut. But that fact that you're acknowledging it's a problem is already a step in the right direction, because now you know you won't do that again. And
Yeah.
what is a better alternative? So don't get stuck in the punishment or the blame or the shame or the paralyzation of, oh, I failed once, I can never do it again, right?
Yes.
It's a lesson learned. Learn from it, release it,
Mhm.
keep it clearly in your head as not to do the same thing again, and
Yeah.
try something else, right? A tree doesn't only have one branch, right? So there's many branches in there, and not all of them survive. Some of them die off, and that's okay.
Absolutely, and that's a great analogy, Sarah. And the thing is, and if you want to use that analogy, even in the plant world, there is time for pruning.
Yes,
Okay, pruning
yes,
is so important because
yes.
what happens, and humans, we do the same thing. Just as in the plant world, when that branch starts to die or decay, ironically, it diverts all of its energy trying to save that dying branch.
Right.
Okay,
Yes.
and the only way that it rediverts the energy back to the parts of it that are actually good and growing is when you cut off that branch. So knowing when to leave certain thoughts and ideas and behavior behind is also crucial.
Yeah, I mean, you look at nature, and it's you know, I've got a beautiful poster that, you know, I look at myself now and again, and it's everything is death, whether it was from a fire or whatever. The land is
Mhm.
destructive, and out of it just comes one beautiful flower. And
Right.
it's like, you know, from destruction comes the purity of new
Mhm.
birth. And then
Yeah.
sometimes, even in business, you have to go, you know, this is the wrong business. This is
Yes.
the wrong avenue. I need to shut this down and start again with
Yeah.
a clearer intent, with a more clarity in my direction, more reason why I'm doing it. It doesn't mean you were a failure. The fact that you recognize this isn't working and I need to redirect and recreate is actually something that's very, very positive, because now it will be very positive to everybody that you have an effect on.
Absolutely, and that's so critical because you know, everything that the reason why people might be listening, Sarah, is to get some information to ultimately make a change.
Yes.
Okay, and what we have found is that change really happens for people in two occasions. One is in crisis.
Yes.
Okay, I call it the two C's. You know, you either change in crisis or what I call conscious change.
Yes.
Crisis or conscious change. So I wish for people not to have crisis, but
Right.
it's so hard to
Yes.
get people to consciously and consistently
Mm.
put in the efforts and the ideas and creating the right environment and to become very, very disciplined to change consciously.
Right.
And unfortunately, and whatever it is, the whole idea is ultimately people will change. And I just say to people is that it's going to be one or the other. So
Right.
it's probably
What do
better
you
to
feed?
choose.
What do you
Yes,
feed? Right. You know, it's
exactly.
you've got a beautiful garden. The reason it's beautiful is that you seeded it and watered it and pruned it, and, you know, and protected the best you could along the way. It does, you know, nature will always grow beautifully wild and create
Mhm.
some wonderful things, but it may be rather chaotic. So
Yes.
do you want to leave it up to nature, or do you want to have a garden that has some structure to it, has some purpose with it, or vegetable garden that's growing your vegetables, whatever it is, your metaphor you want to use. But the whole point is what you feed will grow. So if you're going to feed the chaos, that's going to still be chaotic for you. If you consciously choose to raise your vibration, raise that frequency, and feed what it is you're doing because you know it serves, because you know it benefits other people, because it's coming from a place of integrity and passion from you, it
Yeah.
will grow exponentially.
Absolutely, absolutely, and you know, and you need to understand it, I guess, in stages, Sarah. And
Yes.
what the work that you are doing is so amazing in terms of not only building business, but self-discovery, because people need to find that within themselves first. Because if you're not if you're not good at it, it's going to be really difficult to help other people.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
that's why on the plane that says, put on your mask first,
Yes.
and understanding that it's not selfish.
Right. No, and you'd said it before, you have conversations with your mirror. And I
Yes.
invite everyone to, it's so hard to look in the mirror and pull the wool over your own eyes. Really.
Yes.
Look eyeball to eyeball. Who are you fooling? And,
Yeah.
if you're constantly spinning around in chaos, it's because you're living an external life of expectation. When you go internally in that self-discovery of who you really are, the gift that's innately given to you, the abilities that were given to you, willingness to learn, and the willingness to expand on that knowledge to serve others, and you're coming from that conscious place, it is a very beautiful thing, isn't it? It's a wonderful place to be, but it doesn't happen externally. It's an internal thing, and your external success will come from the internal process. And everybody's got to be willing to go through the process.
Yes, and it's a lot about what I call truth telling.
Yes.
So it is said that the truth will set you free,
Right.
but first it will terrify you.
Yes. Oh, yes. Oh, it will. And you know what? That's the part of it coming up. You facing it, you're acknowledging it, and you're releasing it. Right? Don't punish yourself. As I said, we've all done things that, God, what was I thinking? Why did I do that? Don't get stuck in that. Again, you did what you did at the time because now you know better.
Yes.
Right? Let it go and make a vow to yourself that I'm going to do better. I'm not going to do that again. Right?
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean you're not going to make more mistakes, though. You still will, right?
Yeah. And the great thing about, I guess I call it our industry and profession, is that, what people I think have been missing is really a proper system of knowing that, I can go through this and there's going to be light at the end of the tunnel.
Yes.
So facing the truth is going to be difficult, and there are difficult aspects all along the way. And I said that, people want to change, and it's not like they are lazy, or not that they don't want it badly enough, or they're not disciplined or anything. That I believe is that, what they lack is really a system or a process that takes them through from beginning to end. And I think secondly, what they miss is one of the laws of the world. It happens whether we are aware that it exists, whether we believe in the law or not, it still exists. It's just like the law of gravity. I say, if you can't see it, or if you don't believe it, try walking off a 10-story building and see what happens.
Oh, I guess they were right.
Exactly. So one of the important laws there, Sara, is that the size of your goals and dreams is equal to the size of the obstacles that will come and try and stop you. So when I begin to work with my clients, I said, be ready. It's going to come, because it's just a law of nature that, the bigger you dream, the more challenges that you have. And they're there for really two purposes, really, I believe. One is to, test, as I call it, that goal that you have. Is it something that you really, really want? That you're able to get over all of the challenges? And there's a famous Irish philosopher, Oscar Wilde, who said that most people are other people. And what he means by that is that most of the goals and dreams that people go after are really not their own. And that's why you said it's so important to go within. It's just what they see society suggests as success. So that's one of the reasons for the challenges, is to see how badly do you want this, how deep it is. And I have a process what I call 7 levels deep whenever someone says that they have a goal, to really see if it's rooted strongly, so that you can withstand the challenges that are going to come. Okay, so one is to test how deeply there is that strength of purpose. And the other reason is to really see if you have learned what you needed to learn to be successful at what you want to be successful at, because it's a journey, and you're going to have to learn along the way. So how do you learn the skills to overcome the challenges? So that's why the challenges are there, I believe, to key reasons is that it tests your depth of purpose and strength of purpose, and also your learning ability. Do you have the right knowledge to be
Yes.
successful? Because you still need that knowledge to be
Right.
successful.
And the thing is that there is no quick fix. You know, the whole getting rich off.com, you know, those are very few and far between. You know,
Yeah,
people who are overnight successes took 15 years to get there. You
exactly.
know, and you know, businesses may have started in the garage and they're quadrillion today, but they
Yes.
had to go through a process, and that
Yes.
meant they had to go through a lot of closed doors. They had to
Mhm.
go through a lot of redirects. They had to go through a lot of abandoning ideas and reconstructing. But as you said, the most important thing is, were they rooted in the belief of what they were doing and why they were doing it, right? Everything else is just a matter of the steps and the process taking to see where it can go. I think also as a business person, there's got to be an exploratory nature about you. You
Yes.
have to be an adventurous, because everything about, you know, is, oh, I'm just going to take these steps and I'll be at success. And it doesn't work that way. These steps help you prepare for what's coming your way that will lead you to your success. Also, what's your definition of success? Because if it's about getting rich and Fortune 500, there's a lot of pitfalls along the way. If it's about serving humanity, that puts you on the Fortune 500 because of what the ricocheting effect you have on humanity, then yes, right? So that consciousness really does come into it, especially now. There's a conscious shift going on worldwide, individually, personally, and in the business practice. People are very, very tired of the way business has been done as usual, which was illusional. It was
Yes.
society's expectation, and nobody's been able to live up to it without paying a high price, right?
Yes.
We don't need to pay that high price. We don't need the big C catastrophic anymore. If we
Yeah.
step into that consciousness, we're there on that right track, and we'll go through that process, those levels, so much more cohesively and without, without fear or restraint. Embrace them a lot more.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you still need the knowledge.
Yes.
Something came to me. I, I don't know why, it just popped into my head a couple of weeks ago, but I could remember in the mid-90s when I was sitting in university, and my organizational behavior lecturer, he said that, change or die. Okay.
Yes.
Now, a lot of people survive, some companies die along the way, but couple of weeks ago, Sara, that this is imminent. Really, that's the feeling that
Yes.
I got, is that you need to change like immediately, or you're really going to
Yes.
die.
Yes. Yes. And that's very
Literally.
important. It's truly that's again the gut saying, "Hey, hello." We need to do that. And with us, I would say we've all got that at the present moment. I can tell you right now, there is a vibration out globally at the present moment that is, we have to change. We have to change now.
Yeah.
We have to change the way we conduct our business. We have to change the way we treat ourselves. That resonance of how we treat others is how we treat ourselves. We need to be kinder, more caring, more generous, more giving, and not to be afraid to give away, because you'll receive so much more back. That
Yeah.
consciousness in every aspect of our life at the present moment is there's an enormous invitation to change. If you don't change, you'll be left behind.
Yes. Absolutely, and that's why your programs are so powerful, Sara, and that continual development and continual learning is so critical, because even what you just said there was so profound, but it has to be sort of taken apart and really understood in a practical way, because I've seen so many people do the opposite, where they give, but they give away everything for free almost, and not really valuing themselves, which also speaks to a different something inside of you that you need to change. So that balance between, giving, but not giving it all away, that you don't succeed in your business. And how do you hone your value? How do you hold your value? How do you show your value? How do you give, but still, protect yourself? That's super important, because I think a lot of people
I'm one of them.
Take away from that.
Yeah, no, I was definitely there, because, I want those voices to be heard. I want people to have that opportunity to get out there for other people, to resonate with them, and they'll be able to help them. So it was all give, 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 and then whew, I'm depleted. nothing
Yes.
coming back. And it's like, well, oxygenate yourself, because if you don't, I've got no breath to give anyone else, you know. And a hard lesson for me to learn, that
Yes.
in the giving, I must be willing to receive, because if I
Yes.
don't receive, I won't have anything left to give. And
Mm-hmm.
that's a real hard. Do you work with people that are in the service of caring business?
Yes,
Because
absolutely.
we're the biggest victims, you know.
Yes.
hardest balance, but you don't understand, they need me. Yes, I know, but you need you too.
Yes.
That's a hard
Yeah.
lesson.
And you know, it starts to give the profession maybe a bad name at times, because
Yes.
people are looking on. Is
Yeah.
like, okay, you're telling me how to be better at my business, but you don't seem to be
Yeah.
thriving in your
Yes,
business. You know,
exactly,
for you to
exactly.
tell me what to do about my business.
Yes.
And that's why I believe that it's not about creating an image, but it's just that the human nature is that we believe what we see.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
we have to display the same thing that we want other people to do, because that's what they do. They believe what they see.
Right, exactly. But there again, the caution would be, don't see somebody for the dollar sign.
Mm-hmm.
Right? See
Yeah.
people for the enrichment that they are. Their dollar sign may be less than somebody
Yes.
else, but then somebody else out there with a big, massive dollar sign may not be somebody that's living from a very conscious level and may have got that money on the backs of other people. You know, it is
Yes.
making sure that as we enrich ourselves in every way, monetary and spiritually and emotionally and in every way, that it doesn't cost somebody else for us to fortify
Yes.
ourselves, right? That everybody benefits. And that's where that consciousness in business is. Does it serve the multiples of people, right?
Yeah. Absolutely. And you know, when you say that, something that I experienced personally when I got to meet Les Brown, and he said something. He said, you know, there is enough for everyone.
Yes.
And I thought that was so powerful. And you know, it's part of, I wouldn't say daily routine, but reminding myself ever so regularly when I move from that creative mind to the competitive mind. Is like, hold on, look, there is enough for everyone. You know, you don't
Yeah.
need to, someone doesn't need to have less for you to have more. It's not like
Precisely.
that.
So important to learn. And of course, I'm into the Big C collaboration.
Okay.
You know, you're a podcaster, I'm a podcaster. You know, we are about sharing the stories of people that, you know, we want them to be bigger and better and happier and everything else, right? And it's like when we build that, which I'm actually 2019 stepping into, where this whole entire network is joining, and something else that's going to be massive, can't say yet, but it expands this message exponentially. And also when you're talking about the layers, also on a particular layer where everybody can develop at their own layers. So I can't say any more than right now, but other than I'm excited. And that actually has come about because I've been willing to go through the steps,
Yes.
right? And those steps also of my own self-value, you know, and we both know Carmelita Nuttall, and she was like, you're not charging enough, Sara, you're not placing enough value on you. And she interviewed me for her podcast coming up as well. And it's, you know, that's the thing, is when we support one another, when we celebrate one another, when we're there for one another, the abundance grows for everybody and everybody gets to share in the pot. So,
Yes.
and the competitiveness within ourselves is reaching that 10. And once you're at that 10, is that enough? Do you want to go to the 11 or 12 or 20? Or do you want to take that 10 and expand it out? So, in other words, help other people reach that 10.
Yeah.
Right? It's
Yeah.
not about the heights. It's about reaching a certain level and then letting it reach our arms around the world rather than the ivory tower,
Yes.
because we've seen where that goes.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's so powerful, Sara. And I guess you're very intuitive in the sense that I was thinking, you know, so you get to 10 and what's there after that.
Yeah.
And the image that came to mind is that, you know, you flip it, so my logo is like this, but then you flip it where, you're at the bottom and everything is still
Yes.
above you when you get there. So what is beyond it, it's really flipping. And so yeah, the entrepreneur, the business person should always be thinking about, what's next. And that's really part of my personal value system. It's just really staying ahead of the game or with the game these days, because also not only the conscious side, because you still have to have the daily operations of the
Right.
business, just
Well,
staying,
they have to be as one.
yes,
Yes.
and staying au courant with what's happening with the world of business. So for example, last year when I was in India, I went with myself from the Caribbean, 8 guys from the US, and 1 from Singapore. And was talking to the guy next to me. So we were talking about what topic we each going to talk about. And he said, Shane, I'm here to talk about blockchain technology, for example. And he said, if you think that the internet changed the world, this technology is going to 10x that. And so, I delved into it and what it means. And I can tell you that it's going to make business a whole lot easier, so that you don't need to focus too much on that. You still need to do it, but it allows the freedom, so to speak, that you can really do more of the consciousness than the nuts and bolts of the business. So that's going to become super simple.
Before you go into anything what anybody else says, you've just exposed what I'm about to go into.
Oh.
Blockchain technology that raises the consciousness that allows people to build their lives and their business.
Wow.
Self-Discovery Radio, first time anybody's hearing this, this is where we're going. And it's yes, it's it's massive.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I think we need to talk beyond this conversation.
Definitely.
Because that's definitely some of my plans and programs for 2019.
Yes. And for people who don't understand what it is, it's much more of a secure platform where you can do your business. It's A, from hacking, or B, from people who just don't belong there. If the intent of people that are a part of it are in that conscious level of helping one another and creating a virtual to reality that is that you bring everything back into your own lives. So it's not an escapism. It's a conscious tutorial that you bring back into your life. So yes, Self-Discovery Radio and Community is going to be the voice of this one particular.
Okay, amazing. Because when I saw it and I really delved into understanding what it is, I think that's very timely, and it's part of that conscious shift that you're talking about. Is that let's forget that all of that stuff that causes lack of trust and the fighting and the wars, etc. And it's let the technology take care of that, so you could really focus on the other stuff, so that we build a society that is really based on trust, so that we don't utilize all of our energies trying to put systems and checks and balances in place where we waste so much energy, and it's really draining when you think about it. In organizations, it's really not the thing that happens, but it's all of the checks and balances and all the policies and procedures that we need to follow that really gets people so riled up and upset and frustrated.
And the barriers and the blockades and everything else that it does. You said it earlier about, there's enough for everyone, and that's the thing in this type of arena that we're going into. It is again about, I look upon it as a feast. Everybody's bringing their own ingredient. Right? And not everybody likes everything on the table. You're going to pick from the table what you can digest. But the whole point, that what we can guarantee is the organicness, the conscious organicness of what's at that table, ready for picking. And, we, Self-Discovery Radio, is going to be the voice, the storytelling of bringing that, but also everybody that we have is going to be coming in with us. So it's, and it is about you can come in as, a participant without having a raised consciousness, because you're there to raise your consciousness. And there's going to be even a 12-step in doing that. But for people who are actually going to be a part of the arena, they have to be at a certain conscious level to do it, because that's the only way you can be a part of it. And
Yes.
it's so exciting. Technically, I don't really comprehend. I purely understand the
Right.
conceptualizing of it, and it's a lovely platform to go to where we really get naturally can feed what works.
Yes.
Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And but this is the thing too, isn't it, in business, is that the constant evolving is that you're on one platform and it's really working, and then suddenly there's a new shift, a new paradigm of something that's been presented out there, and it's like, well, I'm all right where I am.
Yeah.
Think a little further forward. If this paradigm is so extraordinary, as you have just said, it was mind-blowing for you, and
Yeah.
if your business doesn't start integrating with it, it could just be that you'll be one of the ones left behind in the old platform. All right. So this is something also in business that we've always got to do, isn't it? It's not the new next thing, but is it something that really gives you your platform with what you want to do in business, and are you willing to give it a try? Because if not, in other words, don't get stuck in your 10.
Yes. Absolutely. And in business, we, as we say, the trend is your friend, and
Yes.
that's definitely the trend. And the thing about it is putting billions behind understanding it.
Yes.
They understand, but really comprehending what it is and what it can do for their business, and what is going to happen, and why it's so important for business people not to wait is because those big corporations come out, as they are already in just in the last week. It's just going to rock the world.
Yes.
And you're going to be like, where did this come from? So I'm
Right.
saying today you're hearing that
Yes.
this is the trend, and I can tell you a lot of big businesses are investing heavily in it right now.
Right, exactly. And it was really funny. Like 6.5 years ago, when I first started doing podcasting, I did live for the first 13 months with a different network. And I remember my first show, I pressed all the wrong buttons. Planes are flying over, everything going wrong. And she just said, do you want to continue? And I go, yes, it can only get better from here. And of course, being live, you have people who don't turn up, or, they get dropped, or you get dropped because it's the internet. But it's all about the learning curve, the unraveling, dealing with the crisis, not getting, traumatized by it. Like today, we've had wobblies, but we're just going to work through those wobblies because the information is too important to get out. So if you're looking for perfection all the time, sometimes you're missing the content. If you allow the imperfections to happen, the content will ring true. And I think that's something very important too, isn't it? Is don't take yourself too seriously. Don't get too wound up in something. Remember to take a breath and go with the flow sometimes.
Absolutely. And Sara, one of the things I've learned as well is perfectionism is actually one of those limiting behaviors.
Yes, it is. It is. You become a slave again to an illusion of expectation. That's what perfection is. Right?
Yes.
When something feels perfect for you is when it feels right for you on, the game, the heart to soul to spirit mind. That's when this is in alignment. This feels right. This is perfect in this moment. Right. And that's when you can use the word perfect. But to look for perfection, what is perfection? It's somebody else's ideology. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. And I can tell you that I suffered from that a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And I can tell you definitely that it had kept me back. I think I would have been a whole lot further along had I not tried to be perfection.
Right. I think that goes back to your starving 5-year-old. It's like, it's only when I'm here that it's perfect that I can trust the food on my table. I can trust the food will be on my table tomorrow. And it's kind of reassuring that 5-year-old that where you are, even in its imperfections, the food will still be there tomorrow, right? Because we've got to remember that once you've been starved of something in life, you hunger for it even more and you don't trust it.
Yes.
Right. And it's that trusting it's going to be there.
Yeah, you just spoke to me so powerfully there. It just brought back so many memories, and it touched me deep down inside that that's really what happened for so many years. But thank God, been able to break through that, and as you said, it's a journey. It's
Yes.
like you can't say that it's one and done and I am
No.
over this for the rest of
No.
my life. And yeah, that's what also one of the hard lessons that I have had to learn, because sometimes when you think that you have a breakthrough, you feel, well, that's it. I could sit back on my laurels and it's
No.
going to be a smooth road ahead. And
Uh-uh.
that rarely ever happens.
No, but the thing is, everybody said, but why is this happening? I've done the work. All you've
Mhm.
done is released other things. You've learned new things that will help you through the next thing.
Yes.
Because there's always be something. And
Yeah.
I mean, I used to take
Yeah.
things going wrong a lot more personally, you know, a lot more, and
Yeah.
freak out. And now it's like, it's playing up again.
Yeah.
And, just deal with
Yeah.
it. And I think a lot the way we deal with things in life will be the invitation for the people around us of how they deal with it or how they deal with you dealing with it, right? Because,
Yes.
if we all go into drama mode, we're not going to find productivity. So,
Yeah.
but we always get triggers. That little boy, even though you've worked through it, there'll be triggers that will come along. And,
Yes.
and the thing is, it's not getting crippled by the trigger. It's recognizing it. Oh, why is that trigger there? What's going on
Mhm.
right now
Yes.
that I need to pay attention to? Because otherwise I
Yes.
wouldn't be feeling this way. So sort of brush it under the rug. It's deal with it,
Mhm.
but don't get caught up in it.
Exactly. And that's part of the higher consciousness training,
Yes.
the 10 training that I
Yes.
take people through, is to see yourself outside of the situation, so to
Right.
speak, so that
Yes.
you could really look at it objectively, so
Yeah.
that you in your adult life could see that little 5-year-old Shane,
Yes.
that almost died of starvation,
Yeah.
that you're not caught up in that you can see yourself separate, because that's what happens to people, is that they still think that they are,
Yes.
but the ability to separate yourself from that child or childhood, or any level of thinking, is so important in being able to think objectively, not get caught up in there. Because if you from this position, you're going to go back into that fight or flight mode.
Yes, you'll go back into the
Yeah,
fear. Yes, and it will cripple you if you allow it to. And that's the thing
absolutely.
is it's what you're doing is it's reminding you of something that you need to pay attention to. It's not inviting you to go back to the fear or the trauma. All right,
Yes.
and that's something we have to pay attention to. A great movie for that was Living Inside Out, the animated
Okay.
movie that was put out
Good.
there.
Yeah.
And it's all about our emotions and understanding all of our emotions are important. Is
Yes.
just don't get stuck in them. They're there for a reason. Spend them, acknowledge them, move on. Right.
Yes.
So, and again, life lessons. These are
Mhm.
lessons that you learn in life. And I think the other thing we have to remember is we're all on the same clock.
Mhm.
The clock, no matter where you are in the world or who you are, how important you are or not, we're all under the same clock. And it's what we do with our time. And if we have had trauma in our lives or disappointment in our life or struggles in our life, it's taken up a lot of time. So let's not waste any more time on that.
Yeah.
Let's put the love and the energy for self and who we are and what we're here for, and feed that. And let's make the rest of our time something that is so much more productive and purposeful
Yes.
because of the time that it cost us beforehand.
Yes, absolutely, Sarah. And, earlier I said to you, one of my whys or my motivations is really being able to say yes,
Yes.
to the higher being at the end of my life if I fulfill my purpose. But the other thing that is extremely motivating, to get up and do something, is that, our time here is limited.
Yes.
And we've spent so much time playing small, procrastinating, waiting for perfectionism,
Right.
seeking the approval of other people. And
Making
now that
excuses.
yes, now maybe you have realized, look, I was having all of these limiting behaviors. And when you realize, look, tomorrow is not promised to anyone. You have spent so much time and you just don't have the luxury.
Right.
And thank God there are systems, there are courses, programs out there that does not take 20 years to
Right.
reverse the process.
Yes, exactly. You can fast track that. It's all,
Yes, yes,
you're going to put your skates on,
yes,
or are you going to put your heavy iron clogs on?
yes.
It's how much do you want to live in the past and the pain, or how much do you want to get out of it?
Yeah,
right?
exactly. It's as you said, it's not going to be a
No.
microwave fix, but it could be, on skates fix. It's going to be
Yes.
a whole lot faster than it took to get you
Yeah,
here.
exactly. And that, it prepares you for anything else that's coming your way. There's going to be other obstacles in the life, but you're just going to be, okay, all right, this is what I know how to deal with this. Instead of like, oh, you might have an initial reaction of, or oh, shoot.
Yeah.
But then it's like, I know, I've got this. I know how to deal
Mhm.
with this. And
Mhm.
then you can just deal with it and you realize it's not that big a deal because you've
Exactly.
got the skills, you've got the tools, you've got the knowledge and to do it, and you're not getting caught up in the drama of it.
Yeah. And I think it's important there, Sarah, to say to your viewers that, if you feel it, if you have an impulse, if you have a thought about it, just know that I believe that, it's kind of messed up to think that if you could have that thought and it's not possible to achieve,
Yes.
just because you had that thought means that you are capable, means that you're creative enough, means that you're capable enough.
Yes.
Okay, it's just you need to get some stuff out of the way.
Yes.
Sometimes yourself. Okay, but yes, any impulse that you have, any thought that you have, any goal that you have, you may not know where it would have come from, but just know that the fact that you had it
Yes.
means that you are capable of, you have the ability to, and you're going to have all the support in getting there. You just have to open up yourself to receiving that.
Right. Very, very important. Open up. Be ready
Yeah.
to receive. And I say here on selfdiscoveryradiotv.com that I interview ordinary people doing extraordinary things.
Yes.
And people say to me, but this person of position, and doesn't it intimidate you? And I said, no, because I interview the soul. I
Yes.
interview the heart of the person. And fundamentally, we all have that vulnerability. It doesn't matter what our position is. If, I believe in placing importance upon yourself. That is the nurturing, the loving, the caring of being abundant to yourself.
Yeah.
But don't buy into self-importance, because that comes
Yes.
from ego or insecurity, and it will separate you from anything and everything you're meant to achieve. And I think that is somewhere along the line, we all go through that, importance,
Yeah.
self-importance and all of that type of thing. And I see a lot of business people reach that 10 and all of a sudden they flip to self-importance. And I
Yes.
think that is a big, huge warning sign to people. You have achieved this level.
Mhm.
Bravo,
Yes.
congratulations. Now what? It's not for you to put yourself on a pedestal. Look at
Yeah.
me, I've achieved this. It's
Yeah.
now a responsibility. What are you going to do with all this achievement that then
Mhm.
seeds and waters opportunities for everyone else?
Yeah, yeah, and I think that's so important, Sarah. And it's a quality that I had. I still can't figure out where I got it from
Mm-hmm.
when I was younger. But the quality of respecting people's
Yes.
success, but not putting them on such a pedestal that I don't
Yes.
believe that I can get there. And
Right, right.
and I think that's such an important balance. That I respect your success,
Yeah.
but it's not too far, or not that I'm incapable of doing it. I think that's super important to understand. And I was speaking to someone recently who I was really encouraging to start that business that they've been thinking about for the last 5 years. And I said, just do it. Just, you have the concept, you have the idea, you've been thinking about it for so long, just do it. And she said to me, well, Shane, that's easy for you to say, you're up there. And I
Right.
said, hold on,
Yes, exactly.
just hold on. What do you mean I'm up there? My story. That I almost died from starvation when I was 5. I didn't have, electricity or running water until I was 11. I said I didn't go to any special university. Hundreds of thousands of people went to the same
Yes.
university that I've been to. I didn't work in any special organization to get, any unique experience. I just took what I had and made it into something that was good. So that concept of, you're up there, and I was like,
Yeah.
what do you mean?
Yes.
I'm up there.
Yeah.
So that has to do a lot with self-confidence.
Yes. And also, again, perception, that you must be untouchable or
Yeah.
unreachable, for me down here, because my level is still down here and I'm rising. No, that's the reason why you're there, is to help people, experience your level.
Yes.
And it's not about you lording over them. Again, we are seeing that in the world right now with a
Yes.
few leaders of lording over people. We know that when we empower people to be all they can be, all right, and
Yeah.
resonate on their own frequency, they are part of the equation, they're part of the solution. And
Yes.
it's, you know, it's a human thing to kind of put people on a pedestal, start worshiping them, and then start hating them because we're worshiping them, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a slippery slide. You know, don't want to be there, don't want wouldn't want the responsibility of being under that perception, because it's a false illusion.
Absolutely.
Well, my dear, what have you got to offer right now? Have you got any programs coming up for 2019? What do we expect from you? And how do people get hold of you?
Okay, great. So I have two programs that I'm super excited for, Sarah. One is called the CEO's Club that I'd actually launched in November 2018. And that really came out of a live program that I had. It was just 2 hours and with some CEOs, business owners. And what they loved, it was, 2 hours and there were 3 critical ideas or strategies that they can take and implement. And I said, well, how would you like that on a monthly basis? Sort of somewhat what you do to a large extent. So I call it the CEO's Club. Okay, so it's a club for CEOs, anyone who's aspiring to be a CEO, and you're the CEO of your own life, you're the CEO of your own business, whether you're a coach, a solopreneur, an entrepreneur, you're most welcome. And the value proposition there, Sarah, is that, with the proliferation of the internet, there's so much information out there, and people are searching. They don't know where to trust, who to trust.
Right.
So the value proposition there is that if you come to the Go for 10 CEOs Club, is that we're going to cut through the chase. We're going to interview and bring on all the people who are at the leading edge of business, be it blockchain technology or mindfulness or whatever it is there. At least once a month, we're going to have a global expert coming on there. We have a community where you can ask within the community to help solve the problems that you have, because, as we know, most of the problems that we have today, they're not new. Someone else would have gone through it and solved it.
Yes.
Okay, so that's a monthly subscription or an annual subscription business where you get to network with other CEOs and myself, where we bring to you the latest and greatest information out there in terms of the leading edge, in terms of what's happening in business. And that could be found at www.igo410.com. So that's igo410.com. And if you go to shaneram.com, very easy to remember, you can find the links to all those other programs. And also starting in 2019, I also have another program called the Daring Business Builders Masters Class. Okay, so it's for the people who dare to build a business on purpose, who dare to build a business that is going to give them the lifestyle that they want. So the ideal candidate there might be a senior executive who have spent many years in the corporate world, but feel that they want to go off and start their own business. But we want to do it correctly, in the sense that you need to, I'm all for building it on purpose, first of all, so finding what that is, and then putting in all the other business systems and structures in place. So what's your marketing structure? What's your unique value proposition? What's the strategies that you want to implement? Marketing, sales, and systems. And that's where I'm bringing my other parts of my life. I have a master's degree in strategic thinking. So that's a 3-month program, and I call it the ultimate learning experience, because it's a combination of I would go live, and I'm limiting it to a group of 10 or 12, because I do one module every 2 weeks. So I share the information with the group, and then with each person in the group, I work one-on-one to coach to make sure that they implement that module into their business before they move on to the next module. And so it's for people who might be in the corporate world who want to go off on their own, or people who started business to get a certain level of freedom, and they realize that maybe, yes, I'm doing well in my business, but it's not on purpose.
It's not, you're not free.
Yes, you're not free.
You're
not fulfilled.
Yes.
Exactly. Absolutely. So how to structure that? How to I start off with what I call the DILO, DILO, day in the life of Sara. What is that going to look like? What's that perfect day? So we work backwards to build the business and the structure, and that too can be found at the same website, www.igo410.com, as in I,
Yes.
go410.com. And again, shaneram.com, you will find all the links to all my other social media pages. And it's a simple name, Shane Ram, and you search it in any of those social media, be it LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram, Shane Ram, and it will come up.
Excellent. Well, we're completely on the same page. I know that you'll fit very well into the platform that we're about to do here. And, it is about be willing to go through the process. As you say, a CEO from a company may have run a company with, thousands of people, but now they've decided, I prefer to go off and do something on my own. It's a different structure. It's a different approach. And, you can't just go and do things as usual. You're used to everybody else doing it. Now you're doing it. So, the thing is, you never, ever lose the knowledge that you have gained along your life's journey. It's taking what knowledge is relevant and prevalent to the future and knowing how to structure it in a way that it serves in your building. And that's important. So whether somebody's been extremely successful or starting off, and again, when you're at that cohesive table, whether you're starting out or somebody's had that success, you're on an equal playing field here. And it just means that if you had had that success and you can share that wisdom and knowledge to help somebody else along the way, there's nothing better. And this is where women have been mothers and over the picket fence. Oh, so something, my so-and-so Johnny did this last night. And it's like, oh yes, my Freddie did that. Have you tried this? And that is the approach. This worked for me. Give it a try. Maybe you can do it exactly how I did it, or maybe you can do a version of it. But the more people sharing the experience of how they tackled something, becomes those solutions that people are looking for. Sharing is gaining. It really is for everyone.
Yeah. And that's so powerful, Sara, because people are hung up sometimes, very hung up on finding my purpose. And I said, well, look, there are processes out there that you can go through to find that purpose. But I put it simply, you go through your own crap, you find a solution, and you share it with other people.
Yes.
That's really what it is.
It is.
As simple as that.
Yes. It isn't all the highfalutin and the Armani suit and this and that. It's like, let the hair down and oh my God, and boom, and that's the thing. It's through conversation, through everybody sharing, so much wisdom is gained. But the other important thing is camaraderie.
Yes.
That cohesive camaraderie of a family that you're building, where you can turn to each other in trust, right? You're not competing with one another. You're building something of support. And that's something that's so absolutely essential in any form of your life, but especially in business, is that you can turn to someone else for support and also in celebration.
Yes.
Just mustn't forget to celebrate those different levels, right?
Absolutely.
And the big party once you've reached 10.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much, Shane. And to everyone else, I'm sorry we've had a few little hiccups here and there, but that's life. You're going to have a few hiccups here and there. How you react to it, is whether you're going to get through them or not. So if you panic, I guarantee you can't think when you're panicking. It's take the deep breath, deal with it as it comes up, have the knowledge on how to deal with it, and then just get on with things, because that's what life is all about. But don't forget to have joy in what you do, because if you don't love what you do, you're never going to bring what you do to anyone else who's going to love it either. So that connection to loving your purpose and who you are and what you are and where you're going and what you're doing and who it serves is all integrated into one another. Excellent. Absolutely. Thank you so much, Shane. I look forward to having you back on again in the future. And yes, as we're closing this off, I'll let you know into the secret of what is happening. 2019 will be revealing. Okay. So this is airing over the Christmas period. So I wish everybody a very wonderful, happy season, no matter what your faith is. But it mostly is a time of caring, of giving, of loving, and coming together. So please make sure you do, and don't leave anyone out. All right. Thank you, Shane.
You're welcome, Sarah, and Merry Christmas to you and all of your viewers.
Excellent. And what a new year it's going to be too. Hold on, folks. There's going to be a ride. Until next time, folks. Bye for now. For more wonderful shows like this, please go to selfdiscoveryradio.com, podcasts, and see our lineup. And if you wish to support us, we have a funded button. Please stay tuned for our next show.